solve the system, give the answer as x, y, z. Okay, so we're supposed to solve this system of 3 equations. So it's 3 equations with 3 letters. Notice 3 equations, and we have x, y, and z. We call that a 3 by 3. 3 equations, 3 letters. 3 by 3. Okay, so how do we solve it? Well, we bring it over here for starters. So 5x minus, well, actually, before I even write it down, basically what you need to do is step 1. Let me get a little more room here. So step 1 is to eliminate 1 letter. And the easiest letter to eliminate would be z. Do you see this? See how this says minus 1z and this says plus 1z? So if I add those 2 equations, they'll go away. Eliminate 1 letter from all 3. So I'm going to take that first equation, bring it right over here. 5x minus 2y minus 1z is 4, and then the second equation, 1x minus 4y plus 1z is 2, and I will just add them up. And so when I add them up, these z's will cancel, and I'll get 6x minus 6y is 6. So that's a new equation that only has 2 letters. But now I need to do it again. So now I'm going to add 2 other ones that are opposites. See how this one and this one, if I add those 2, they will also cancel. So you just keep adding things that'll cancel. I'm getting rid of z, so I'm going to rewrite the middle equation again. And I'm going to add them up. So when I add these up, those z's will cancel again, and I get 4x minus 12y, and that's 4. So I've got 2 equations now that have 2 letters. I eliminated 1 letter from all 3 equations. So now I can grab this equation and bring it over. And so that'll be 6x, whoops, go back and get rid of that. It's going to be 6x minus 6y is 6. And then I will grab the other equation, 4x minus 12y is 4 that I just got from there. Okay, so now I have those 2 equations. Now, what I'm going to do for those 2 is, so that was all step 1. I eliminated 1 letter from all 3. So I got rid of z from everybody. Now I have a 2 by 2. This is 2 equations, 2 letters. So I can solve the 2 by 2. This is step 2. What am I going to do now to solve the 2 by 2? So, step 2, multiply 1 or both equations to make either the x's or the y's opposites. And then you can eliminate them. So, doesn't really matter. Why don't I just do the x's? So how can I multiply the 6x and the 4x to make them opposites? How can I multiply them to make them the same number, one positive, one negative? That's what I mean by opposites. They're going to be the same number, but one's going to be positive, one's going to be negative. I could multiply both the 6 and the 4 and make them become 12, right? If I multiply 2 times 6 and 3 times 4, That'll make 12, but I got to make one of them negative 12x, so I'll do negative 2 times the top one and positive 3 times the bottom one. Does that make sense? So here we go. So negative 2, that'll make that negative. It's going to go all the way across, and then the bottom one I'll go plus 3, and that'll go all the way across. And so we'll have opposites. So here we go. So we'll get minus 12x plus 12y is minus 12. And this will be plus 12x, right, when that plus 3 hits the plus 4, minus 36y is 12. So I made the x's opposites. Now you might be thinking, wouldn't it be easier, Mr. Aaron, to make the y's? Couldn't we have just multiplied that guy by negative 2 and now make that plus 12? Yeah, you totally could. It would have been actually a little easier because you'd only have to multiply the top equation. You wouldn't even have to touch the bottom equation to make those two y's opposites, since the bottom one already is minus 12y. You could have made that plus one plus 12y, the top one plus 12y, by multiplying by plus 2. That would have worked great. It doesn't matter. So I said x's or y's. It doesn't really matter. It's not a huge difference one way or the other. All right. Let's add those up. And so what do we get? These cancel. I get minus, not 12, I'm doing a little bad math there, minus 24y. And that's 0, isn't it? So 12 minus 36 is minus 24y, and 12, these guys cancel to be 0. Now, sometimes people kind of freak out at this point. They see those cancel, those 12s, and they just sort of stop. And they go, oh, it must be no solution. No. Don't do that. It's only no solution if, or the other case, which is the infinite solutions case. That only happens if all the letters vanish at the same time. That hasn't happened. Y is still there. Y has not vanished. So just put a 0 on that right side and just keep right on moving. So I'm going to solve for, how do you get y alone? You divide by minus 24 on both sides, right? And it cancels out here. And we get y equals 0 divided by anything is just 0. So there's our answer for y. We got y equals 0. So now we got our first answer. Y is 0. So now we've got to plug back in. Where should we plug in? You're going to plug in over here. Plug in y is 0 where there's only 2 letters. Right? I want to go back to one of these equations, back here, only 2 letters, back to these guys or these guys. It doesn't really matter. Any of them are fine. I'll just grab this one up here, this one. It's all good. So I'll just take that one down there. So that's 6x minus 6y is 6. So I just grabbed that. You could have grabbed any of those 4. It matters not at all. So I just grab that guy, bring him on down. So, and then I'm going to plug in. Now I'm going to plug in the y is 0. Boom, right there. So what do we get? 6x minus 6 times 0 equals, that cancels, so 6x is 6. Last step, divide by 6, boom. X is 1. We got an answer for x. And now, what are we going to do from here? We are going to plug in x is 1, y is 0 to any original. It doesn't matter which of the 3. Just go back to one of the 3 originals, go back up here and say, okay, I'll just grab the very first one. Doesn't matter. So I'll just grab this guy right here. 5x minus 2y minus z equals 4. So 5x minus 2y minus 1z is 4. So, and I'm going to plug in x is 1 into that. So I'll do that. So x is 1, plug in there. And y is 0, plug in there. So we get 5 times 1 minus 2 times 0 minus 1, z is 4. This is 5 minus, this is gone, 1, z is 4. So we got to solve here, subtract 5 from both sides. And when we do, these will cancel and we'll get minus 1z. Come down here, minus 1z equals minus 1. So minus 1z is minus 1. Last step to finish getting z alone, divide by minus 1. So z equals positive 1, right? 2 negatives make positive. So we got our answer for z. So we got all 3 answers. We got z, we got x, we got y. So the overall answer to this problem is, what was x? X was 1, y was 0. So x is 1, y is 0, z is 1. So there we go. We solved it. That's x and y and z. So what did we do? Let's recap real quick. So step 1 was to eliminate one letter from all 3. So I got rid of z, right? I added these 2 and z canceled, I added those 2 and z canceled. Then I got this equation and this equation, which didn't have z, just had x and y. Then I multiplied to make x's opposites, solved for y, started going back and plugging in. There we